The Geek Speak Show is produced and distributed by 22 Creations Multimedia, LLC.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
Welcome to one of the longest-running geek culture talk shows. Welcome to the Geek Speak Show with Henry San Miguel and the Nerdy Navajo, Sean Clenn. And introducing Emily Mata. The Geek Speak Show has been speaking geek since 2010. This is the Geek Speak Show.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another hopefully fun-filled Geek Speak episode. I'm here, and Emily's going to join me in a moment. You're also going to hear from Sean Clenn, maybe later on. I'll explain why. So there's a lot to get to today, so let's get to it before we run out of time. Time, that's something we never seem to have enough of, isn't it? Now, our first guest today is the director of a new movie that covers that very subject. It's called Matter of Time, and it'll be in theaters starting this Friday, February 27th. Jeremy Snead is the director and one of the writers, and he joins me now on the show. Welcome, Jeremy. How are you?
Hey, Henry, I'm good. How are you, man?
Doing great. Thanks for coming on. So for those hearing about it for the first time, tell them what Matter of Time is all about.
Yeah, Matter of Time is really a kind of a labor of love for me and all of my collaborators. So going back 20 years ago was when I started my agency, my production studio, and started shooting commercials and documentaries primarily for the video game industry. Did commercials for the original Nintendo Wii, and had to cast actors and film with the Wiimote and all that stuff. And I kind of got bit with the filmmaking bug during that season, and quickly after that started shooting a documentary about the video game industry, and that documentary came out in 2014. It was called Video Games the Movie, and it was on Netflix for about 7 years. And through that process, I met Sean Astin, the actor. And that's a story for another time. But Sean and I have been friends since then for about 15 years, and he had always encouraged me to direct a feature. And Matter of Time, just when this script came across my desk, we optioned the original version of it. I shared it with Sean, and he said, "That's it. That's you, because it fits your brand." And the rest is history.
Yeah, and we should mention, by the way, those that don't know, Sean Astin is in this movie also. We'll talk about that. In fact, talk about it right now. Let me have you talk about the cast, including Sean Astin, and why you cast each actor in their respective roles.
Yeah, casting is, Clint Eastwood always talks about, if you cast good talent, you don't have to direct them. And it really is true. A good actor can take a good script and really elevate it. They can't necessarily take a bad script and make it better, but they could take, I heard Bryan Cranston recently talking about, he said, I can take a B- script and I can raise it a grade level. I can get it to an A-, but I can't take a C script and make it an A. Like, a good actor can elevate your script, but they can't make it your material great. It really does have to start on the page. And that's, Matter of Time is no different. We really looked at talent that embodied the role of each character. And funny story about, so Sean Astin's daughter, Allie Astin, is actually also in the film. Mm-hmm. And we were originally just doing a table read on Zoom with Sean and with me and some of my writers. And if you've ever done a table read with a screenplay, you got to have a different person for each role. So, you could have 10, 12, 14 people in a room, depending on how many characters are in the script. And so we were kind of scrambling to find enough people to read each part just to do the table read. And Sean said, well, let me get my daughter and some of her friends. They're all actors, and they can read different parts. And so Allie Astin ended up reading the part of Bree, just as a favor to me. I've known Allie since she was a little girl, and during this Zoom table read, I'm watching Allie, and I'm like, she's actually really good. And so that turned into us casting Allie as the character of Bree. And each actor that we cast kind of had their own strengths, and really, it's like once you see the person in that role, it's like, oh yeah, obviously they're meant to play that part.
Yeah. Well, wait. Let me ask you this, Jeremy. Before Allie was cast, was Sean already on board or not yet?
Yes, Sean was on board.
Okay.
He had told me, hey, if we get the script where it needs to be, then I'll, we're going to shoot it in Dallas. And he said, I'll come to Dallas, and he really was doing me a favor because, we're an independent production. We didn't have tons of money. We had to kind of beg, borrow, and steal. So yeah, Allie came on after the fact.
With that table read, the core four, and you guys will know what I mean when you see the movie. Is that how they were cast, or how did you find them?
Yeah, so Jamie Alexander, who plays the role of Miles Sugar, he's kind of if there is a villain in the piece, he plays the villain, but he's a lovable villain. He was actually friends with one of the story by credits. So Chris Dowling, who has a story by credit on the film, said that he knew a guy that could potentially do well in that role, and just as a favor to him, I said, yeah, well, I'll watch it if he wants to send me an audition, and he sent it, and we'd probably watched, I don't know, a dozen or so people read for the character of Miles Sugar, and Jamie was just over the top, and we were cracking up, and he delivered. He's become in some of our early screenings, he was one of people's favorite characters.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Lucas and Brian were actually local. And when I say local, I mean Dallas Fort Worth actors that just auditioned and I felt like they embodied the roles of those characters, and we got some great talent in the Dallas Fort Worth area, so we were really blessed in that way.
Yeah, is that where the film was shot, in the Dallas area?
Yeah, we shot it in what we lovingly call the Golden Triangle, which is Denton, Fort Worth, and Dallas. So you can draw Denton's really far north, DFW, and Fort Worth is west, Dallas is east, and so we shot it all around Dallas Fort Worth.
For this Friday's release, and by the way, for all of you listening, I have a link on the show description for all of you to get info and tickets, of course. But for the release on Friday, is it going to be a wide or a limited release?
It'd be considered limited, in comparison to, say, Scream 7, which is our big competition this weekend. They're in, whatever, 3,500 all the screens. And we're limited. So we're in about 66 markets right now, just around the country, but major markets, so Seattle, Los Angeles, Dallas, Austin, New York, LA, etc. So most of the major metropolitan areas, there's a handful of theaters that it's playing in.
Okay. So the audience engagement campaign, it's also pretty unique. Talk about why and how you're partnering with IGN on that.
Yeah, no, that was really a serendipitous opportunity or relationship, I should say. So Carl Stewart, who's the senior vice president of marketing at IGN, is a good friend of mine because, as I mentioned before, I've worked in and for the video game industry for 20 plus years, just creating video game commercials and video game documentaries. And through that, I had met Carl many moons ago, and we've been friends for a long time. And he's actually been in some of my documentary projects when he was working at Square Enix. I had sent him a screener of the film, probably a year and a half ago, just as a friend, just like, hey, I made this movie about, it's kind of Back to the Future meets video games, and do you want to check it out? And he was like, yeah, man. And so I sent it to him, and he was just over the moon about it. He said, this is just so great. and told me that they were developing what they're now calling the Imagine marketing tool there at IGN, and it's an AI powered marketing tool for targeting and geo targeting and finding your audience, whether you're a filmmaker or making widgets. And he said, if you'll let me use Matter of Time, kind of as the test run here for this project, then we can partner, and essentially we could get a lot of advertising that we otherwise wouldn't have gotten, because we're the little train that could. We're the indie project, don't have the money that the big studios do. So really hoping and crossing our fingers that the IGN marketing tool helps us kind of find our audience.
Yeah, I think it will, and it's pretty unique because, at least I think, it's my opinion, I think this is the future of how films, especially genre films like this, should market like that. So be interesting to see.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Now
I have a different opinion about AI creating the films, but marketing the films, yes.
Yeah, we can go on 2-hour episode just on that alone. I mean, every filmmaker and actor I speak to, all of them are. I think you're on that same, is what you're saying, Jeremy. You're on that same wavelength. No, we don't want AI. No, thank you. To create things, I mean, as a tool, that's fine, but to create things, no, thank you. So, yes. I was gonna say, I know a filmmaker, you don't want to tell audiences what to feel, but what do you hope audiences take away from this film? Especially, I'm talking about non-gamers here.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm glad you said that, because all the obvious things that you see in the trailer, the video game elements, the time stopping element, Sean Astin and Dungeons and Dragons, and all those things are fairly obvious and a lot of fun, kind of popcorn to the movie.
Yeah.
But really the heart of the movie is this theme of self versus tribe. So Charlie, the main character, he goes on a journey to make this video game. But what he learns that so many of us learn the hard way is, it's about the journey. It's not about the destination. And that's something that's paralleled my life as a business owner and as somebody who's very ambitious, is that it's really less about where you get or where you are, and more important, who you're with and who you're doing life with and who you're sharing life with. And, where's your tribe? Who is your tribe? And how are you partnering with them to have fun in your life and to accomplish the things you want to do? And that's a journey that Charlie goes on with his friends and his family, and his mom is a big part of the story, which, no spoilers, but you'll see it when you watch the movie. The mom relationship with Charlie is something that really, we got a lot of positive feedback at some of our early festival screenings. Moms and dads and aunts and uncles came up to me afterwards and just said, "Oh my gosh, it's a tearjerker. I thought this was about video games, and it's about family." And so I hope that people see that theme and see that it's more about what you do in life, or less about what you do in life, and more about who you do it with.
Yeah. And again, having seen that, I know exactly what we're talking about. Yes, it is definitely a tearjerker at the end. I'll put it that way. Now for you, Jeremy, this one is specifically for you. What did Jeremy take away from working with your closest friends on, you've done documentaries, but on a narrative film?
Yeah. Great question. Documentary is, obviously completely different beast and different sensibility to narrative. A lot of it can be very kind of a solitary experience, traveling and shooting interviews, and it might have a small crew. It might just be you, and then a lot of time in post. But for Matter of Time, I mean, it's we shot it over a month in Dallas, Fort Worth, and had a crew of probably between 60 and 75, and it's 12, 14, sometimes 16-hour days. So you become very close with your crew very fast because you're spending so much time with them. But it was very rewarding. The producers of the film and my fellow writers are all good friends of mine: Jason Baumgartner, Zach Smith, Ian Campbell, and on and on. It really it was interesting. It kind of paralleled the theme of the movie, which is we decided to do this movie together, as opposed to what I've kind of done in my career up to this point has been on my own. Now I've got my team at Media Juice, but I've never really brought in my friends. I've got my staff that works with me and works for me, but doing it with my friends was a whole other level of rewarding and fulfilling and difficult, but worth it.
Yeah. And all of you can watch the results of that this Friday in theaters. I have a link on the website and on the show notes. Thanks for spending time with us today, Jeremy, and great job on the film, and I wish you all the much success with it.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, man.
Here's Aaron Dill letting you know when and where we'll see you at the con.
Attention, LARPers.
Intercon 2026 is happening on February 26th through March 1st at the Crown Plaza Province Warwick in Warwick, Rhode Island. Military Hero Con. Military Hero Con will also take place from February 27th through March 1st at Fort Benning AAFES at Fort Moore, Georgia. Moving over to the state of Florida, like a lot of the nation is this time of year, Beyond Comic-Con is on Saturday, February 28th at the Marjorie and William McDonald Center in North Miami Beach. Beyond Comic-Con is a movement to inspire individuals to become future creators. It's a family-focused comic book convention whose creators and independent designers make connections, showcase their comics, fashion designs, video games, and beyond. Stockton Con Winter will be happening on February 28th and March 1st at the Adventist Health Arena in Stockton, California. And just a little reminder, we have a little over a month to go, but WonderCon Anaheim badges are on sale right now. So head on over to comiccon.org/WCA to get yours before they sell out. And here's another reminder. This isn't just for conventions. Even though that's in the name of this feature, artist signings, book launches, film premieres or screenings, game nights, or anything that the Geek Speak audience would want to be at, go ahead and send an email with all the details to geek.speak@gms.com. I'm Aaron Dill, and I'll see you at the con.
For all the links to these cons, visit the events page on thegeekspeakshow.com.
Now back to the Geek Speak Show. Here's Henry and Emily.
So, Matter of Time's story is about working with friends to make your dreams a reality. There's nothing wrong with reaching those dreams solo, however. And yeah, you may call on or get some help from along the way from some friends, but I'm talking about those who motivate themselves and get it done. That's what our next guest did. Solis is an author who was once a musician and a songwriter and is now a comic book creator. He joins us now on the Geek Speak Show. Welcome, Solis. How you doing?
Hey, how's it going, Henry? It's good to be here.
Doing fantastic. Emily, go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, hi, Solis. It's nice having you here on the Geek Speak Show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and just to start off, what made you want to switch from being a musician to a comic creator?
It's a really good one. Of course, artistry was just kind of around my life a lot, so I just always felt art was something I should do. But I got into music really heavy. It's the great communicator. But slowly the industry itself just drove me insane. And I hated Like I love going to bars and playing music, but having to figure out talking to people about marketing or lining up a whole night of certain band types, and they wanted one guy to be the main focus of the night. It's a big propaganda machine. It's just a lot of people propelling other people that even if they're good or not, it's just they're the hot ticket of the moment. And I get it, popularity contests and music is kind of that since MTV, but it just kind of sucked all the life, the energy that I really wanted to bring to it. And like watching like the White Stripes and yeahs and stuff when I grew up were like not punk bands, but they were full on energetic, self-made, kind of inspired by the past feel. Like I felt that was the way that music should have been going. And more I got to work in live concerts. I started working festivals and did DJ work. So that was really weird to set up stages and then have, instead of a giant band, just one guy pushing buttons, pumping his fist. And that kind of threw me off too. So just more and more, I started pulling away from the music scene and finding my own niches in that. But it made me miss community. It made me miss, building stuff together with people. And growing up with my father, my uncle, who were huge comic book fans, I just kind of slid right into it. A former kind of prosperous author that I don't like talking about anymore, I went to go talk about his book, and he said that writers write. And I realized like I had been writing. I wrote poetry, I wrote lyrics, I wrote just random journal entries. Like I had been writing tons of words, and I got a bunch of bad ones out of the way. And I felt like that was important, to just write enough where I felt my writing was strong. And I had that. So I wanted to see what I could do with story. And quickly I found out that prose was not my strong point. Leading people in and taking them with me on the journey strictly through words is kind of hard. They get muddled down, especially when you're just used to talking to people. So comic books called to me. The love of art, the grand mythology of the old Justice League, the beauty of the Tick comics, you can have joy and mythology and grand spectacles and the quiet moments all in these little pages. And it's glorious. I love the medium, and it's able to do so much. So I just dived right in. Started doing Scott Snyder's Substack class online. And from there, I found community and just more and more people that were already trying to make comics. And we realized that the only way to be in comics is to make comics. Nobody's really going to take you at your pitch. Nobody's going to want what you think you can make. They want to see you making stuff. They want to see what you are able to do, or that you're dedicated enough to your own self to make the project happen. And so that's what we did. And we did anthologies within the class. And then I kickstarted my own project. And more, I look back as like I miss music, but I definitely am so much more happier making comics.
Yeah, I wanted to ask because you mentioned Justice League, and I'm kind of curious, like, did that inspire you to maybe like write more like superhero comics, or what kind of stories did you like want to start telling?
It's weird because I do have like my super awesome story idea that I'm kind of holding back, and it's a space opera feel of like the Silver Surfer kind of thing, but that's for way later. And I realized that a lot of the old creators would have to come up with weekly ideas. Every week they'd have to come up with something to pitch in the writer's room, and I started liking that idea. So weekly I come up with 5 ideas, and most of them are junk, but I'd start whittling those away. And whether or not they were superhero ideas or whatever, not a lot of my stuff actually tends to swing towards strong women. Like I love Buffy, I love Xena. So a lot of my stuff, like the Order of the Nunya was the last one I had on Kickstarter. And that's a group of space nuns that have no idea what Catholicism is, but just want to help people. So it's so far in the future that they've lost all the meaning of the nuns shoot, but they found one picture of a group of nuns that basically inspires them to save people, be protectors. And with that, they're uniformed, they're militiaed, they're out there protecting people. And that was really cool. I love stories like that, but I don't know, like comic books taught me morals. So stuff that I can put in there that's just little bits of being a better person. That's my general feel of writing stories that I want. I want to feel like the world's getting better.
Now, is that like why you started Solis Sequentials, or tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, really just noticing how much can be done in indie publishing is actually inspiring because, with music production, it's very hard. You have to have space and tools and all these things. With production, all you really need is the platform to kind of just keep talking about it. So if you're on social media, you're able to talk to people. If you're going on to radio shows, it's good stuff. It's a lot easier. It's very much more fun. Yeah, like really, it just all comes back to I feel a lot more ease in comic books and being around art and having people talk to me about that stuff than I did have to try to play the part of a musician that mysterious and weird.
Yeah, and also you mentioned your character or your comics, or you just put it on Kickstarter. It was the Nunya, right?
Yeah, that one just went by.
Yeah. Is that the only title you have underneath that banner, or like is there any other things that you've come out before that?
No, that is the only one under the Solis Sequential. There is a prior comic that I did without having logos or any of the actual LLC filled out, which is A Flag to Fly, a fantasy comic with Lane Lloyd. It was really I wanted to do political thrillers for kids. I know that sounds kind of weird, but that essentially what I wanted to do was do Game of Thrones, but for YA. And that's where I started off with this rebellion that doesn't have a true leader, and what it is to be a leader, and how many people avoid being leaders. And Flag to Fly tries to look at that in a comical voice. And I love that story, and I can't wait to continue it. But more and more, Kickstarter's a struggle. So I think I'm just going to try to go for graphic novels on that and build my other pieces. Because I do have 2 news stories that I'm working on for this year for Solis Sequentials. One is a bilingual, essentially, Buffy the Vampire meets Supernatural in the Monster of the Week. And it's Benediction. It's about a young witch who's being tried to kept out of Brujeria by her mother while still learning it from her aunt. And they're fighting basically chupacabras and everything from Latin and indigenous America mythologies, trying to blend that as much as possible, trying to make Spanish the words of magic, and trying to make a lot of great things stand out and just get back to the side of my family that really helped me shine in that aspect.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love like these really strong women characters. Is there like anybody that like heavily inspires you to write about like women characters, or that's just kind of like comes from yourself?
I want to say it's both, but it really was just that I grew up around strong women. My mom, my sister, all these people that like I never questioned that people. People are people. People can be deep. People can be interesting. It doesn't matter sex, color, any of that. Like that can add to it when they have to interact with other people. But for the most part, there's just strong people are strong people. And I love showing that it can be anybody and everybody. So it's good to see those represented, and definitely makes me happy to know that I'm adding to it. But in that, I also kind of feel sometimes like it's not my voice to say it, but they are my stories. And I can't help but have the characters that I want in them and love them and try to treat them with as much respect as possible.
Yeah, that's amazing. So just to go back, because you talk heavily a lot about Kickstarters and going sort of that route of self-publishing. So what made you decide to go through that route instead of like doing maybe like a major comic publisher?
It was a lot to do with financial and a lot to do with time. I figure I can get a book that I could have in my hand a lot faster, even just setting up the Kickstarter and going through that way, which definitely happened, and it worked because, I've now made pitches and thinking of trying to get legal backing for contracts, the securities to copyrights and all the rest of that. It's a long process and a lot of things to go through just to be able to present it to a company that'll definitely still tell you, no, I can't have this unsolicited. And I understand a lot of the business aspect of it, but at the same time, it's just a struggle. And why am I going to fight with 600,000, 500,000 people that are trying to get their books made when I can just go get a book, put it on a table, and at least sit around and talk to people about how I love making comic books? And that was the goal of A Flag to Fly, which has worked out great. Now I'm out to Pasadena Comic Con. I've been to Whittier Comic Expo and met a lot of great people. And like you, Emily, I've met there and Jevin and all those great people, and I'm happy to work with them.
Yeah, and on that journey, like what would you say has to be like the toughest thing about self-publishing?
Follow through. It's just making like I come up with ideas weekly and stuff like this, so I know that stuff is supposed to be thrown away, but making sure it's actually saw through all the way to the end and all the conversations are had to make sure that everybody feels represented. It's a great feeling of accomplishment, and just I don't know, it's like more of a project for multiple people that I feel proud of them too, more than just, oh, it's my idea made. It's there. I get to be proud of that. Now I brought people together, created something. That's really big to me, and I like that.
Yes, I'm still here. Haven't gone anywhere. Just letting Emily do most of the talking. But this is where you get to tease everybody. What's coming up next for Solis Sequentials, or if you're doing anything independent of Solis Sequentials?
Right on. No, everything's focused on Solis Sequentials right now, just so I can get nicely backed in the uh, a backlog of books. But yeah, like I said, Benediction is going to be coming out hopefully Halloween time because it is going to be a spooky story and monsters of the week. So we're going to start it around Halloween. But before that, I have a it's very manga inspired robot fight club, but it's giant mechs. Basically, after one kaiju fight, the whole world doubles up and buys up everything that they can to start building giant robots. And what happens is nothing else comes. No other alien, no dimensional being, nothing. So they just sit in hangars and rust for generations. And nobody knows why until somebody starts using them as stages for music performances. So now we mix live music, stage performances with fighting, giant MMA fighting of robots, which will progress and build these things where we have a lot of teams. We've been inspired by One Piece, so we're not kind of putting a cap on our character list, and that's trouble. But it's also really invigorating because there's so many things to do within a tournament arc, and it'll be really fun. And of course, giant robots fighting. So that's just the cherry on top that makes everybody want to check it out. It's going to be really great and fun. But it's also very character driven, and they're all teams that drive these robots. So that's going to be the main focus of a lot of things. But like the action is going to be the robots fighting, but the heart of the characters is going to be deep, and it's going to be really nice.
No, so I smile as you were saying that because there's somebody that Emily actually likes, and he's kind of a friend of a show. I met him one time at WonderCon. Guillermo del Toro. He had a little movie. You may have seen it called Pacific Rim. He actually privately told me what you just said. So an idea for a sequel kind of followed that thing there. So Guillermo, I know he listens still. It's being recorded, not your idea. Solis. Trademark, whatever.
Yeah, man, you didn't need to tell me that. It was my idea until you told me that.
Yeah, no, nobody knows until now because it was a private conversation that we had. But
beautiful.
I was like,
as long as Del Toro's not going to call me up and be all like, "What did you talk to him about?" Then I'm okay.
No, I don't. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get Pacific Rim anything for a while anymore.
No, but yeah, mine does kind of take that whole mentality and just adds music to it. So there's a whole layer of essentially the AI has now replaced a lot of real genius work where there's a whole engineer core. There are smart people in the world, but it's specified just to them. So people don't know how to record music, and all they have is playlists that have been passed down through family lines, which I think is really cool and an excuse to keep with older music. And we get to build super genre bending playlists for people, which I'm really hoping to like tie into stuff if we can advertise it and actually promote them being on it and not have liability charges against us for all of the copyrights due to music. But yeah, like we're trying to build something really not overly grand, but just deep enough. Like reading manga, like you realize how much thought has gone into a lot of these stories, how much intricacy went into that. And we want to try to take that and try to put it into American-esque comic books, but it's all just storytelling. Love it.
Yeah.
Do it the best we can.
Yeah, I like how you think, actually. Now, I'm sure they're thinking this. I can almost hear them say it, so I'll say it for them. Where can listeners get your titles?
Yes, right now the best way is through my website itself, which is www.solissequentials.com, and I have a lot of free stuff on there right now. But you can find us on Global Comics and Comics.one. All of they're able to buy the Nunya Story and A Flag to Fly on those platforms. But just to go read anything that you want from me, solissequentials.com has a lot.
Yeah, I have everything linked up on the show notes and show description for all of you. Just click on Solis's name. It'll take you there. So thanks for spending some time with us today. Looking forward to new stories later this year. And I'm not going to say anything other than I'll tease it this way. You said the next stories, they're going to be a little bit spooky, perfect for Halloween. Here on the Geek Speak Show, during the entire month of October, we do these special episodes called Geek Speak Treats. I think you're going to have to be on one of those to talk about those stories then.
I would love to come back and talk to more spooky stuff. Because that's really close to my heart. That story is going to be really great of my family and things that I don't get to express as a giant white guy who looks like he has green eyes and constantly thinks that he's white. It's nice to have the expression of my Latino background.
That's okay. You'll fit in with us here. You'll be family when you come on this show.
Thank you.
So again, thanks for coming on. And like I said, you're welcome back on the show anytime.
Thank you so much, Emily, Henry. It's been great.
ho, young warriors. Get ready to receive the teachings. This is Nerdy Navajo News. Here's Sean Glenn.
Oh, young warriors. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, that doesn't sound like Sean Clan, you would be right. Because it's not. It's me again. I'm sitting in for Sean Clan this week because he's feeling a little bit under the weather. He'll be back next week. Robert Kirkman's Skybound is bringing Mask back as an ongoing comic book series. It was originally launched as a Saturday morning animated series and a Kinder toy line. Mask, it was never really as popular as Transformers or G.I. Joe, but it still has a loyal fan base. You can include me in that fan base, by the way. The creative team for the new comic book series includes Robert Kirkman, of course, and writer Dan Waters and artist Pi Parr. There's a new report that claims that Sony Pictures is bringing Venom back to the big screen, this time as an animated film. But not just an animated film, an R-rated animated film. In other news and related, Sony Pictures thinks that you're all looking forward to a Venom movie. Universal Pictures will release The Mummy Returns in theaters on March 27th for its 25th anniversary, and probably to prepare us for Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz's return next year in an all-new Mummy adventure. If anything, you can watch the first on-screen performance for a then brand new actor known simply as The Rock. Because, remember, he's the Scorpion King in the second one. The truth has always been out there. And here's the truth for you. Ryan Coogler has found his lead actress for his upcoming X-Files reboot. It's a series, by the way, not a movie. The Hollywood Reporter revealed that Danielle Detweiler will be one of the show's co-leads. No word on who she's going to be playing, but it's not going to be Dana Scully because this is an entirely new story with all new characters. Finally, today, in the story that Sean Clan would have loved, Dan Trachtenberg confirmed in an interview with Screen Rant that even though he just signed a first look producing and directing deal at Paramount, that's not going to take him away from the Predator universe. As you know, he directed the last 3 Predator films, starting with Prey, Killer of Killers, and Predator Badlands. He says his new Paramount deal is a simultaneous thing, and the only thing that will keep him from another Predator project is whether he would have enough time to direct it. That's what's happening this week. I'll not be back next week. Sean Clem probably will be with another Nerdy Navajo News. Oh.
Now that you have heard the stories, you may continue on your journey, the journey that is, listening to the rest of this Geek Speak Show episode.
Join the Nerdy Navajo Sean Clen aboard 2 historic, iconic, and haunted ships, the RMS Queen Mary in Long Beach on Friday, April 17th, and the USS Hornet in Alameda on Friday, June 12th. And just added, the haunted Yorktown Memorial Hospital in Yorktown, Texas on September 12th. Visit Clen Warrior SSP on Instagram for more info and to get your tickets.
Sci-fi, fantasy, horror, and supernatural. Comic books, graphic novels, ebooks, and ongoing or new series. You'll hear them all right here on the Geek Speak Show Book Club.
You will, and even though Emily's here, she actually doesn't have a book, but I do. It's a book that I forgot was in our Geek Speak library. It's the Animal Farm graphic novel. I was cleaning out some things and I ran across it and was like, wait, when did we get this? I read it before. It is the George Orwell story. It's adapted and illustrated by artist O-D-Y-R. I think Oder is how you pronounce it. I know it sounds weird, but O-D-Y-R is what it says on here. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the story. Maybe you read it in school or on your own at some point. But if you're not familiar with George Orwell's Animal Farm, again, this is the graphic novel, not the book. This is the graphic novel is the perfect way to get introduced to that story. Now, a lot of you are going to be quick to point out, especially those of you that have read it, how it looks like the times that we're living in. Take it from an elder, me, somebody that's older and has lived through some more things. If that's all that you focus on, you're really missing the forest for the trees, literally. The human lesson in this story isn't the animal's revolution. It's what comes after that revolution. I won't say what it is. I won't spoil it for you. But after you read it, just ask yourself this question. Is the grass always greener on the other side? All right, so that's my book. Now, Emily doesn't have a book, but you do have an appearance. Tease where you're going to be this weekend.
Yeah, so this weekend I'll be at the Arizona Comic Book Festival, also known as ASCAF, right down in Phoenix at the Phoenix Shrine Auditorium at 552 North 4th Street in Phoenix, Arizona. So yeah, catch us down at table 28 at 10 a.m. bright and early, all the way down to 5 p.m.
Yeah, and I'll include all the links to everything if you want to go there. Now, if you're thinking, yeah, it's Arizona, it's going to be hot. If you're here in Southern California, it's going to be 90 degrees this weekend, so not going to be that hot over there. If you don't think so, ask Sean Clenn. Yeah, he's feeling a little bit under the weather, but he can tell you it's not that hot right now. We got snow. So, Emily, enjoy the cool over there in Arizona. We'll be back next month, which is next week, to get ready for spring and, of course, to speak more geek. Bye, everybody.
While you wait for the next episode, you can follow the show on Instagram @GeekC, at The Geek Speak Show on TikTok and Facebook. Subscribe to the show on YouTube at Geek Speak Videos. That's where you'll find all event coverage and the new Geek Speak video show. Henry, Emily, and Sean Clenn will return in Avengers Doomsday. But until then, you can also hear them next week right here on The Geek Speak Show.